Hey everybody, it's Heather Vickery. How are you today? I am so delighted that you're here with us. I want to just take a quick second to connect with you about our Patreon page. So Patreon is this really great platform that allows artists and creators to connect with people who like to support artists and creators. You know, I'm a creator. You like to support me. That's why you're here listening, right? I'm delighted to have you here. I could really use all of the love and support that you've got. I hope you will go on over to patreon.com/bravefiles and see what we have going on there. There are a bunch of different tiers for as little as $4 a month, and it goes up from there. Every single tier gets at least a little fun swag or prize, and some of the larger tiers even get to have a show dedicated to them. And I'm so excited to tell you that this particular episode is dedicated to Pamela Fries. Pam was one of the very first Patreon supporters that we had. She is also one of my most treasured friends. Pam, I hope you're listening. I want you to know that your support and love and encouragement makes me better and stronger, and it gives me so much more courage and ability to be brave. Having friends like you allows me to try new things and to not be so scared. Thank you for that. I love you for it. I appreciate it. I am eternally grateful for your friendship and support, and I'm honored to dedicate this episode to you. And speaking of this episode, I have to tell you, I am in love with this episode. The guest today is just quite frankly, one of the most extraordinary humans I have ever known. You are about to hear an interview with a woman who does the most miraculous things every single day of her life. I cannot wait for you to hear it. So let's get started right now. Here's this week's episode.
Stubborn, determined, and hopeful.
You are listening to The Brave Files. Real stories from people living courageously. You can listen to the show anywhere you enjoy podcasts, and we'd love for you to subscribe, rate, and give a review on Apple Podcasts. It really does make a difference, and we appreciate it. Now here's your host, Heather Vickery.
Hi, everybody. It's Heather Vickery. Happy Thursday. Welcome to the Brave Files podcast. I'm so delighted to have you here with us. You know, not long ago, I was having a fairly bad day. And listen, we all have bad days. I get it. But this bad day was so difficult that I struggled to fill in my gratitude journal at the end of the night. Now, you all know how I feel about gratitude and my journal. In the end, I decided to write down that I was grateful to have arms and legs that work. And then I sat down for a minute and I thought, hold on a second. I'm not a little grateful to have arms and legs that work. I am extremely grateful to have arms and legs that work. Sometimes in a busy and overwhelming life, we forget the most basic of things. We forget to be grateful for all that we have. And then sometimes we meet people who help us redefine what is necessary to live an exceptional and bountiful life. Today's guest is Anoushé Husain, and she's a champion. I mean, really a champion. But she also champions for those experiencing barriers and self-limiting beliefs. She was born missing her right arm below the elbow. She's lived with multiple health conditions. She's a cancer survivor, and she's a Muslim. So coming from an ethnic minority, Anoushé has never let what society or culture thinks she could do limit her or dictate any direction for her life. She's constantly breaking the mold and challenging not only her own beliefs, but her own potential and that of the society around her. She is an incredible woman and a powerhouse. Wow, Anoushé, I am so excited to welcome you to the Brave Files. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for inviting me.
Oh my goodness, you are welcome. Okay, wow, that's a lot, right? First of all, people say to me, I don't know how you do all the things. And when I think about the kinds of things that you do all the things, and it's amazing. So thank you for sharing that with us.
Thank you.
Wow. Can you take us back? We're going to go all the way back to childhood, what it was like growing up. Now, you're in the UK now. Were you born and raised in the UK?
I was actually born and raised in Luxembourg, so Europe.
Okay, in Europe. So what was it like growing up in your family, given your physical and health challenges, and how did your family react and respond to you?
So actually, aside from missing my arm below the elbow, most of my challenges started around teenagerhood and later.
Okay.
So as a kid, aside from being like a bit poorly, like I used to get like loads of like infections, I was pretty much healthy aside from my arm. So basically, my parents were just like, they got in touch with a really cool charity here in the UK, and that charity sort of believes in it's ability, not disability, that matters. And my parents took that attitude and just basically put it into me.
Love it.
They never sort of let me not do things. In fact, they would push me into things I wasn't necessarily keen on doing in the beginning because they wanted to just let me experience it all and never let me believe that something was a barrier just because I have 1.5 arms. Things like, I have stage fright and I go give talks in front of thousands of people now. I still have stage fright, but we found that out when I was 4 and my parents got me into Sri Lankan dancing, and the first show in the country happened to be in front of 800 odd people, and I happened to give the thank you speech at the age of 5. There we go. Yeah, so it's like that was kind of my parents and my family's attitude, was really like, let's just put her out there. And if anything, my mum definitely believed in making me as independent as possible, because as an adult she was sure I was going to face challenges.
Yeah.
And not saying health, but just attitudes in society. So she was like, let's get her as on her feet as possible, which means that when people later on in life tell her she'll not be able to do things, she'll basically tell them to shut up.
Yeah. And you have done that. Tell our listeners just, I don't know, all of or a little bit of, because the list is huge, of the things that you do that really most people with 2 full arms don't do. I think it's incredible.
Okay, well, I have my regular day job, so I work for the British government, and then when I'm not in my day job, I'm a climber. So I competitively climb. So yeah, that's indoor. Yeah, indoor rock climbing.
Okay.
I went on my first outdoor trip last year as well. So I now outdoor rock climb, which is scary. It still happens. Slightly shocked that it happened, but hey, it did. As well as that, I used to do martial arts. I used to do competitive swimming as well as a kid.
Really?
So that's sort of the more physical, sporty side of things. As I said, my parents were really keen on me being as independent as possible, which meant putting me through a load of sports. And then as well as that, I basically am an ambassador for like 2 charities. Yeah, 2 charities, patron for a third, and have founded my own social initiative last year, which is now hopefully becoming a charity this year.
Tell us about your social initiative.
So my social initiative is called Paraclimbing London. Founded it with a friend of mine, and it's all about making climbing more accessible to anybody with a physical or mental or emotional disability. So we are talking missing limbs, mental health disorders, autism spectrum, learning disability, whatever you've got, visible or invisible, you just turn up. And we turn up at our sessions.
Yeah.
Our sessions are completely free, so we don't add cost to the barrier to disability, which can be a real barrier. And we just say, come along. And there's never any pressure to climb in our sessions. You can just come and just watch or socialize if you want to. And we run them in several ways. So we have even like 1-to-1 sessions for people who can't make the group sessions because of, say, anxiety or fatigue or issues like that. And then we bring these people gradually into the group sessions if it's appropriate. So it's really tailored to every climber.
That's so cool. I have never climbed anything, but one of my kids loves rock climbing, and I'm in awe of anybody who can do it. So, wow. So your parents pushed you into sports because they wanted you to be able to know that you could do everything. Do you love it?
Yeah. Sports for me has always been a release from life. I always feel better after a sports session, but there's literally something about sports which means I can just forget about the daily stress of life. And in particular climbing, because it's a mental sport as well as a physical sport, because it's a puzzle. It's basically a vertical puzzle, isn't it? So because it is a vertical puzzle, so at that point you're actually having to focus on what fingertip is going to go where and where I'm going to place my tiptoe and how I'm going to place my hips. It's not just the actual physical of moving, it's the mental of how am I going to do this so that I can still manage to stay on the wall for the next few moves. And so it becomes this thing where if you're not completely focused, it shows in the climbing. And so at that point in time, you can walk into the climbing wall and forget about your own world for a little while.
Right. I do that. I do that with writing. I do it with painting. I've never been
Yeah.
a sports person, but I get
So I
that
do it with
idea.
painting as well.
Yeah. Do you?
Yeah, painting, crochet, cooking, baking, those types of things. Totally. Yeah, I can definitely relax. But sports, slightly different.
Yeah. It's a full immersion, right?
Yeah,
You're
it's
so
full.
focused.
You're
Yeah.
completely encompassed. Yeah, exactly.
That's so fascinating to me. So tell us a little bit about the things that happened when you became a teenager and started to not feel so great. So what shifted in your life at that point?
So teenagerhood happened, I guess, and I was at the time competing in karate. I was full-time school, 16 hours a week of karate, was doing Spanish and art classes after school as well. And I think some charitable work. So I always I've been
Busy.
doing charity work.
Busy young lady.
Busy.
Yeah.
Busy is a thing in my life. It's a thing. So it just never really stopped. I noticed that my right shoulder was popping out of its socket. No pain. I thought it was a really cool party trick. My parents disagreed. The doctors disagreed. And so I got basically started off doing physio for this right shoulder that was suddenly doing things it wasn't really meant to be doing. Not helpful because a lot of my karate competitions were artistic form. So air. And so there was nothing stopping my shoulder from popping out whenever I was competing, which wasn't ideal, nor in training.
Problem.
Yeah, problem. It ended up that it wasn't just my shoulder, but it was a few other joints too that suddenly started becoming a thing. And all of a sudden, it was suddenly, a kind of cool shoulder that does funny things too. Oh my God, is there something wrong? And what is it? Nobody can name it. So, sort of 16, you're starting to get really worried about your health all of a sudden because, you walk into something and suddenly a joint pops out of place. Okay, that's not great. And sort of the same week that I'd won a competition, I got my first podium place, and I was competing in able-bodied competitions. So I was competing against everybody with 4 limbs. There was no disabled category. So I kind of just had to go in with everybody else. Got my first podium, got invited onto the national team. The same week I met my surgeon, who was going to become my surgeon. And he was just like, yeah, you're not doing karate anymore. And I kind of had to stop cold turkey then. I wasn't even allowed to go back to my training session and say goodbye to everybody. It completely sucked. Broke my heart completely. We didn't realize at the time that my strong muscles were stopping the rest of my joints from getting worse. So, yeah, that wasn't great when we realized that. So I stopped karate at 16. And by 18, I was having my first surgeries because everything was wobbling.
Wow.
Everything was wobbling. I was by then starting to experience some serious chronic pain, some serious chronic fatigue, because just, I deconditioned really quickly. Again, we didn't know what this thing was, but instead of starting to go to my first year of university in Belgium, relatively worry-free, I was having surgery on my left thumb. Now, I only have one hand, so having my only thumb out of action for a few months wasn't great.
Problem,
right? 18 first surgery, 20 second surgery, 21 third surgery, 22 cancer.
Yeah. It's a bit too much, I think.
It was a little bit too much. And so, I thought at 21, because it was back surgery, so I had like sciatica. I couldn't walk properly on my right leg. I'd gone from sort of walking 20, 30 kilometers comfortably over a couple of days to suddenly struggling to walk 10 minutes because of the pain from the sciatica stuff. That sort of, by the time I got to the back surgery and I wasn't healing well from it, again, we had no name behind this condition. All I thought was
fascinating to me that the doctors didn't know what was causing all of this.
No, exactly. And Luxembourg is a small country. So, admittedly, it could have been that they hadn't seen a lot of this before. But I was just being told I had hypermobile joints. I was quite sure it wasn't that.
Yeah.
Because it didn't make sense that things had degraded so quickly with that. And so, I thought I'd hit rock bottom when I had my back surgery, because I said that the pain from that, the very, very slow recovery from that. The recovery was so slow that they actually put me through a second lot of scans to check that nothing had gone wrong in the surgery 6 months later, because it was just not getting better. And that's when we found out I had a tumor, and we had to start thinking about getting that one out.
Oh my goodness.
I got told it was benign by my surgeon before we took it out. So there was no rush. and took it out 6 months later. It tripled in size by then.
And it was actually benign? They didn't...
The tumor itself was sort of benign. The cells around the tumor definitely weren't. So it had started turning into a relatively good staged cancer in terms of sort of the prognosis.
Oh my goodness.
So at that point in time, I remember it was hilarious. I had the surgery and I was at university for like this graduation type, year one graduation thing. It was my master's by then. And I remember calling up the nurse at the hospital going, am I all clear? She's like, yeah, no, you're fine. And a couple of weeks later, it was a Thursday afternoon. I'd finished my lectures for the morning. I'd come home and getting a call from the nurse saying, can you come in tomorrow? Just the doctor would like to see you. I'm like, okay, maybe he just wants to check scars. And I come in and it was going to be a Saturday. And they'd opened the hospital just for me. There's nobody else in the building.
Not fine.
Obviously, hindsight, I didn't realize then, but hindsight, I remember now that there's nobody there. I hadn't been told to go with anybody. So I'd driven my car, gone on my own. And I remember sitting in the room and the doctor goes, yeah, so we found anomalous cells. He wouldn't even use the C word.
Wow.
And I remember in my head going, two thoughts. One thought was, oh God, he means cancer. And the other one was, I don't think I can do this anymore. Because I was still rock bottom from the back surgery. I still hadn't recovered from that. I hadn't really recovered from what was 18 through to 22. Like it was just no.
Well, and all that time you were still going to school. You were getting your undergraduate and your graduate degree.
Yeah. So I finished my undergrad. I did, it was 4 years. I ended up failing my first year because I couldn't deal with the health issues. My thyroid had decided to go completely wacky at my first year. So I was dealing with that. Part of my undergrad was in China as well. So I actually moved to China for 6 months, studied there and came back.
Wow.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I was getting a lot of support, like parents, flying to China and friends around me, support, helping me out. But yeah, effectively, I did manage to get it done. And then I took a year out between my undergrad and my grad where I carried on studying, just not university degrees, just languages and stuff, just to buffer up my languages and stay a student, but not, well, I just needed to just take some time out from academics, but not, I still wanted to, I had a couple of languages I wanted to get under my belt. And while I was doing that, well, I kind of wanted to stay busy.
I hear you. I get that. But I mean, I've met a lot of really cool people in my life and very few of them say, well, there were just a few languages I wanted to get under my belt. Like, it's amazing.
I grew up in Luxembourg. Everybody speaks 5 languages. That's as true. A minimum. It's a standard thing over there. So
fair enough.
A couple of more, you know what? Once you get past 3, it's no longer learning a language, it's knowing how to learn a language. So yeah, I did like sort of year out learning languages and then sort of deciding where I was going to go for uni. And yeah, so all of this cancer stuff actually happened in my second semester. So year 1, literally I was in the middle of exams when I got my diagnosis. Wow. And I remember going back to uni, telling all my teachers, I'm going to need to defer some of my essays because I have to start treatment.
Yeah. I mean, everyone must have just been in shock.
Well, everybody was great about it. I deferred my exams. No, I did my exams, but deferred my essays. I didn't want to defer my exams. I was like, I wouldn't be fresh memory-wise. Right. So I got through my exams. I said, I'll defer the essays because they, you can think about that later. It's not an issue. Basically spent most of my third semester in chemo. So I'd basically miss a week of class because I was feeling too poorly to attend the class, do a week from home and then do a week in the classroom. So I basically did most of my third semester, got through my exams, somehow by some miracle managed to pass them. A couple of them were basic passes, but I got through them and ended up in my 4th semester starting my first job because I had to do a placement as part of my uni thing. So starting my first job 6 weeks after finishing radiotherapy, still didn't have my hair back or my eyebrows or any of that.
Wow.
I was picking up infections left, right, and center because my immune system was shot. And I still had all of my essays from semester 3 and semester 2, plus my dissertation to do.
And your joint thing. That doesn't have a name.
My joints had gotten even worse by then because I deconditioned. By then, I was struggling to walk 5 minutes.
Wow.
without being in chronic pain or chronic fatigue, or I just couldn't. I was having to rebuild. So basically, January, once the radiotherapy finished, the hospital put me in a supervised program because it was very clear I wasn't going to get better reconditioned without their support. My heart rate had started doing really interesting things, like going really, really up fast. So, we're talking 190 beats per minute, climbing a flight of stairs.
Wow.
Very high. Yes. So
Yeah.
my heart had started doing really worrying things following the chemo. My joints had gotten even worse. My obvious conditioning there was none. Put it plainly, there was absolutely none.
I love your laissez-faire sense of humor. Like it's all just what it is. It's
It
really
was what it was.
remarkable.
I mean, before cancer, my attitude was not like that. It was, oh my God, I can't walk to this. This is the end of the world. But now it's more like, well, okay, that's what it is. What am I going to do about it?
Yeah.
It really changed with the cancer stuff. The psychologist who was following me up at the hospital during chemo was genuinely worried I was going to have a mental breakdown if I didn't get through my essays, because she was like, you have put so much pressure on yourself to finish. Because I was literally starting work and doing my placement and my dissertation. And you technically were only supposed to do one of them, but there was 3 of us who decided to do both.
Oh, no big deal.
Right.
Oh my gosh.
It was crazy. And I think I really just threw myself into that because it was a way for me not to think about what had just happened to me.
Sure. I get
And
that.
I think that's exactly, I did. And in an sane mind, looking back, I was totally insane.
Yeah.
And I would never do that to myself again. God forbid I have cancer again. I would never do that to myself again.
Are you in full remission at this point?
In theory, yes.
Okay.
They're not allowed to use the R word.
They're not allowed to use it. Who's
No,
they and who's telling them they can't say it?
The hospitals aren't allowed to use the R word. They're not allowed to use remission for
Why
certain
not?
types of cancer. It's simply a case of they're not allowed to, because if you relapse, some
They're
cancers
liable.
some cancers have a longer relapse rate. My dad had cancer just after me, and he received his R word well before I will ever.
Your poor mother.
I know. Yeah, she's been through a lot.
Oh my goodness.
Yes, my dad's officially in remission. I'm not allowed to be told I'm in remission, even though I'm 7 years.
Okay.
No evidence of disease so far. So I'll go with NED because that's the best I get.
NED. Okay.
No evidence of disease. I hate it because it means you're never really sure.
You're
but that's
always
the best
watching.
you can get. Yeah, you're always. Yeah, and he's not in follow-ups anymore. I still am. So
kind of forever, probably.
Yeah, I'll always have them. So also the difference is, like, I was 22, 23 when I had my cancer. So the difference is, and we don't know why I did. So I get a very different protocol in terms of follow-ups. So yeah, I mean, it just, I finished off uni and yeah, I mean, life just carried on really. My joints still were worse. The reconditioning with the hospital helped a little bit. I did my first 10-kilometer walk within 6 months of finishing radiotherapy, realized how much I was missing sport, was having a massive load of trouble with my left arm following treatment, couldn't really raise it above my head without struggling. So things like getting a plate from a cupboard or shampooing my hair were a problem. Things like getting socks on were a real issue. Now, there is no right arm. So there were some serious questions
I was like,
around.
it's hard enough to do, I would imagine. I've never only had one arm, but
But when that one arm isn't working right, it's even worse, right?
Yeah.
So one of my best friends suggested I try climbing because I'd been struggling post-karate to find a sport I could fall in love with. I mean, I tried loads of stuff. I'd done Pilates, yoga, badminton, tennis, running, walking, hiking. I mean, I'm not kidding you. I've tried so many different things to see if I could. Karate was the love of my life, and I couldn't find something that could give me that feeling again. It was all good. It just, none of it was keeping me captured.
Right.
None of it was enthralling. None of it was encompassing. And none of it was letting me escape the world.
Right. Which is what you were seeking.
Which is what I was looking for. So she suggested I try climbing. Now, I tried it as an 8-year-old on a school trip for an hour and loved it. Tried to persuade my parents to let me do it. And they're like, no, too dangerous. So never really did it again. Tried it on as a 13-year-old again for an hour on a trip. That was it. So when my friend suggested when I was like 23, post-cancer, struggling to get my arm above my head, my only technically functioning arm, I basically said, you're insane. You're actually insane.
I
mean,
love this friend though. Like this friend
yeah.
believes in you.
Well, she did. And I was like, well, I have no idea how I'm going to even do my harness up because I can't pull anymore at my left arm. She's like, well, I'll get your harness on for you. And I was like, I don't know how I'm going to get on the wall. And she's like, you know what? You're just being scared.
Yeah.
The worst
like
that can happen is you try and you don't like it. But at least then you have a decision. The best that can happen is you find something that you will love for the rest of your life.
That's amazing.
So I went and it was awful. It really was. I couldn't get to the top of anything. I was out of breath. It was painful. It was actually painful. I couldn't drive the next day because I couldn't get my arm up at all, let alone up and doing stuff. But for a precious few seconds in that session, I did escape the world. And I felt normal. I didn't feel like this person who was supposed to have had a really good start to uni and university and college life. I didn't feel, and who didn't get that. I didn't feel like this person who was chronically ill and constantly navigating hospitals. I felt like a person.
Yeah.
Like just a normal human being. And that feeling was enough to make me go back.
I really love that.
That feeling, despite the fact I couldn't top it, basically it was pretty crap. It was enough to persuade me to get into the gym and get stronger. Like as in just get my cardio going and get more walking in. It was enough to persuade me to start making goals again.
How many of you have taken action or chosen not to take action? Everyone who's listening, when one tiny little thing calls out to you. I love that, Anoushé. I love that this one moment amongst all of the stuff that sucked gave you enough hope that you're like, ooh, there's something there. I'm going to find out about that thing. And so many people, I think, miss that moment.
I'm blessed to have had that moment. And I'm blessed to have had the awareness to use it.
That's what I'm talking about. It's the awareness to use it, to take action on it.
I think at that point in time, life was quite dim and dire. That moment was like a breath of fresh air.
It's beautiful.
And because I had such a good support system in terms of my friend who just refused to let me say no, it just meant I could really just try.
Mm-hmm.
So every few months, I would go back and climb with her, not on a regular basis. It really was just every 3-4 months. It was never meant to be a thing. It was just something I could use to test how strong or how much better I was doing in my life rehab. My walking got better. My endurance got better generally.
That makes sense.
And then I moved to London.
Okay.
I moved to London. I didn't have any climbing partners. I moved to London 5 years ago. I didn't have any climbing partners. Didn't really know anybody. Was busy getting my head down for work. Work was exhausting me, and my joints got worse because of the sort of picking up a full rhythm of working full time and commuting and just managing, moving countries, etc.
And still no reason or answer or name to the joints.
Still no reason for the joints. No. Funnily enough, I got referred straight away to prosthetics because I was due for my new prosthetic arms and stuff. I don't use arms on a regular basis, but I do use them as tools in my day-to-day sometimes.
Okay.
So I was due to get mine.
So you don't use them when you climb?
No, God, no. Because the thing is, if it's something stuck to your elbow and you take a fall, you'll break your elbow because you can't get out of it safely. So I climb without prosthetics. But I do use things like, the kitchen or strength training or things. I wasn't strength training back then, but I do definitely use my arms today in strength training. And the hospital referred me out to a physio who specializes in hypermobility because they're like, you have Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, or we think you do. And I went, what's this? And they went, Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, in short, EDS, is a syndrome where the collagen in your body is constructed in the wrong way. So collagen is the main protein building block of your body, and my body just has a really bad blueprint for it. So basically imagine a building and imagine the cement in the bricks. The cement is just loose. So all the bricks wobble.
Right.
And the only thing you can do is put loads of scaffolding around the building. So in essence, your muscles and joint support and whatever else to keep the building steady.
Okay.
but the building is still consistently and constantly wobbling. Hence the extra fatigue, hence the pain, hence things like random injuries that would not happen to a normal person, like getting
Right.
out of bed and popping a hip.
And it also makes sense as to why you were functioning so well when you were
Sporty.
super sporty. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Or at
Interesting.
least functioning better.
Right.
And it also explains why you decondition so quickly, because the
Mhm.
tendons and your ligaments aren't doing the jobs they're meant to be doing. So your muscles have to do it. And if you're not using your muscles and training them, resting them the right way, they're not in a position to do their jobs,
Right.
basically. Well, the extra job that you're giving to them. And again, it explains a lot of the. So they thought I had Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. Took another 2 years to get the diagnosis. So now I officially have Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. Woohoo! Hey, I have a name. I'm happy with that.
I would say that that's got to be satisfying. Like
That's such a relief. I didn't expect when I went in for my diagnosis for EDS that I would also get diagnosed with POTS syndrome. So orthostatic intolerance basically means
oh my
really
goodness.
high heart rates, dizziness, fainting symptoms, essentially. And that explains the really high heart rates I've been having since chemo, which never really stopped. But everybody thought it was chemo damage. And then the doctor was like, yeah, that's not that. 60% of people with Ehlers-Danlos will develop POTS syndrome. So I apparently did the both of them at the same
Wow.
time. And then last year I got diagnosed with Crohn's disease, which is like fun. Not fun. No, trust me, not fun. But hey, getting used to it slowly. So yeah, as I said, I didn't have any climbing partners when I moved to London. I took 2 years not climbing. Really, really realized I missed it. So I went off and did this, like, learn how to do your knots and be safe on a wall course, just so that if I ever
Wow.
decided to climb, I would at least be able to do my own knot in my harness.
Okay.
Just the real
Yeah.
basics for any newbie. And then I moved in my flatmate in my previous flat 3 years ago. And funnily enough, she wanted to climb but didn't know how to do her knots. I wanted to climb and knew how to do my knots. We both said, let's go be bad together.
Let's go be bad together.
Yeah, because we were both brand new. So at least we could be
Okay.
bad together and not
Yeah.
self-conscious about it.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
While we decided to be really, really bad together, I ended up hearing about the fact that in the UK, they do national competitions for people who are disabled, so para climbing. And I said to myself, God, it's been like, 13 years since I last tried to train for any sport. A lot's happened in my life since then, but you know what? What happens if I try again? Like, what happens if I get a coach? And what happens if I see what my body can do? Like,
Yeah.
after. And so I decided to try. That year, I ended up ranked second in the UK in my category.
Wow.
A year later, I had injury issues and health issues because I was getting my EDS diagnosis and stuff. And so I ended up ranking third. Last year, I ended up having to pull out of the comps because I was reacting really badly to the Crohn's medications.
Right. Okay.
And frankly, it was too much to manage. So I pulled out competitions completely last year. Temporarily, the intention is to come back. The intention, it was just, I'm taking a 4 month, I've just returned to training cycle a couple of weeks ago. I took a 4 month sort of kept training, but wasn't with any objectives in mind while I settled all the health issues down a little bit more. And now I'm doing a test run. I started a test run a couple of weeks ago to just see whether my body can handle an actual training cycle without any sort of promises. Just
Right.
Let's see what happens over the next 7 weeks. And can I withstand it now? So yeah, it's really exciting.
And you just came right before you jumped on this interview. You just finished training.
I finished my first training day session for the day. Yeah. So I worked in the morning. I work half days on Tuesdays.
Okay.
I then leg it out and go meet my coach and train with him. And then if I don't have anything else, I go straight away and meet my second coach and strength train with him. Then I get an hour break where I feed myself amazing cake and stuff because I need to eat.
All the good
and
stuff.
It's so good. I really refuel with sugar. And then I carry on social climbing with my friends. Now, because I knew I had no strength training today, my coach kind of knew that as well. So he kind of broke me a little bit earlier, which is okay because we're meant to be broken every now and again. I came home, snacked on some food, talking to you now, and then I'm going to snack again in a bit. And then I'm going to run out and go social climbing.
Wow.
I know, right?
I kind of think it's an amazing day when I get up and I pack everybody's lunch and we're out the door on time and I get to take a shower and nobody
I
throws a
do.
tantrum before bed. I mean, I don't work out. I'm like, oh, you want me to what? No, I don't want to go do that. Like, I am so impressed with you.
The thing is, I don't have kids to manage
Well,
or
that's true.
people to manage. So I don't have that
But
to do. I
still.
don't have other people to do. I just have to manage myself at the moment. And, the shower doesn't really happen very often. Like, it happens, of course, but like perfume and deodorant for the win. No, I'm not kidding.
How European.
No, it's not that. I find showering really exhausting. So like,
I'm
it's
sure.
actually an actual logistical problem to get me into the shower and get me back out. So like, it happens. It's calculated as to when I can get it done.
Now that's interesting because you must get like sweaty.
Yeah, but I change clothes a lot. So I make sure I'm like, and I take a really quick body shower if I absolutely need to.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, deodorant, really good deodorant.
I think that's fascinating. I love that we had, this is such a random aside about the shower, but what I love as a takeaway there is that everybody has a different thing that is seemingly easy or hard, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's really easy for me to take a shower, and that's why it's my touch point. Like, oh, if I could just do this one thing that I love so much that makes me feel refreshed every day, then I feel like it's a win. And for you, like, man, if I could just avoid that shower, we're going to have a pretty good day. So
no, it's not even avoid it. It's more like, oh my God, can I even get there?
Yeah.
I would love to shower every day. I really would. I just haven't gotten to that, to the point where I've got enough consistent energy to do that.
The perspective of that, though, is just phenomenal. And I'm going to think about it, I think probably for days, but the fact that you can climb rock walls and do that so successfully, but that it's almost impossible for you to shower is a perspective that is just kind of mind-blowing to me.
I think by the time I get to the end of my day, it is a choice between a shower or food.
You got to eat.
Or sometimes a choice between shower, food, or getting changed for bed. So sometimes it will be food and straight to bed in whatever I'm wearing.
Sure. Wow.
Because I can't do more than that. That's it. I'm wiped. And it doesn't matter if I've had a light training day or no training day. I will still be in the same position in the night.
Now I think that's really an important note, is that no matter how hard you push yourself in climbing, this is still how your body feels at the end of the day. So this is
the chronic fatigue. This is the chronic illness side of it.
So you may as well do the thing that you can immerse yourself in and that you love. Yeah. Yeah. Do you live by yourself?
I do. I live in a flat share right now.
Okay.
So 3 other flatmates, but we all live our own professional lives and lives generally. I'm about to move because I'm moving into my own flat.
Wow.
Hopefully really, really soon. So just working on the paperwork there. I will be living with a flatmate though.
Okay.
But essentially, I live on my own.
Listeners, we're going to link you to Anoushé's Instagram page. It's really remarkable to watch you climb, and even things like, I love your Instagram page, watching you curl ribbon and things like that. It's fun, and you're so determined, which is one of your words. How easy or hard is it to figure out how to do things that are easy for people? And let's say the ribbon, that may just simply be something that is only challenging because you have 1.5 arms, or maybe it's because the fatigue. I don't know the answer to that, but like, what is that process like?
So sometimes it's ridiculously easy. I'll think it's really hard and have worked out in my head like 10 different ways of trying to do it. And actually I find it easier than the average 2-arm person, because it just is. And I'm just like, darn, I really did think that one out too much. And my friends will also laugh at me and go, you really did think that one out too much. So that's really good. So we do really make fun of they make fun of me in that process.
I love what you just said, though, for those who didn't catch it, because you're like me, you talk a mile a minute and then you add the accent to. No, don't be sorry. I love it. But you said you think that out too much, which means you're just overthinking it. I think that's the British version of saying stop overthinking something.
Oh yeah, no, that's what I meant. Yeah, I was overthinking it.
But I love it. You think that out too much. I dig it. We're going to quote it because I think it's brilliant. So, okay, go ahead.
Yeah. So, sometimes it would just be a case of, overthinking something and then realizing actually it was way easier than it was meant to be, or thought to be. And then sometimes it is genuinely something that's like, really, really silly hard, something that's on the climbing wall or some day-to-day activity. Like, curling ribbon was an interesting one. I didn't expect it to be that challenging. I think I switched the sound off on that Instagram video purposefully because there was a lot of swearing taking place. Peeling potatoes is another one. Oh my God, peeling potatoes is difficult.
I mean, that's difficult for
vegetables.
me. So I can't
don't
imagine.
peel vegetables on purpose. I happen to need to peel one because I happened to be at my sister-in-law's and she needed some help and I offered it. She gave me the potatoes and I couldn't really say no once I started trying. And I was like, I'm not going to say no. I'm just going to take this on as a challenge. And afterwards, I asked her, do you mind if I Instagram this? Because this is hilarious at how bad this is going. And she's like, yeah, no, go for it. So
that's phenomenal.
I used it as an Instagram to just basically, because I'm part of an upper limb community, like a limb different community on Instagram, and counts communities and Crohn's communities. So it's great for other people to just see sometimes the difficulties of your day to day, because then they're like, okay, that's why I didn't find it. That doesn't mean I give up. It means I keep trying.
That's right.
I'm not on my own in finding this difficult.
Yeah, there's a lot of power behind that.
Yeah, there's a heck of a lot of power behind that. So when I had cancer, I decided at the times I didn't want to deal with like awkward questions and things like that. Only my parents, very close family members, and very close friends knew. I'm talking 10 people. Nobody else knew. Like my classmates didn't know, wider family didn't know, and certainly not like members of my community. And so I basically dealt with my cancer experience in isolation. And it wasn't until I moved to London and got to know a really cool cancer charity here that I started, one, emotionally processing what had happened to me, but also realizing how many other people live their lives in isolation and don't talk about their problems. So it's almost like, one, it's a problem shared as a problem halved. If you share a problem, often you'll find a solution.
Absolutely.
But the other thing is you're carrying the burden of the problem by not sharing it. So that experience of meeting the cancer charity and sort of getting involved with them a little bit was kind of what led me to becoming the person I am today in terms of the whole fighting self-limiting beliefs, helping people reach their own potential, because a lot of it is down to people not sharing problems because we as a society aren't great at talking about things we find difficult.
Yes. Yes.
And that's exactly what I try and tackle via the stuff I do, whether that's a funny ribbon curling Instagram video or a serious post.
Yes. I really love that. I think that's part of what people like about this show is that they get to hear other people have had issues that maybe they can identify with, or maybe they have never even thought of, like it being hard to take a shower, right? And recognizing that they can be more open and honest about what's difficult for them.
Yeah, exactly. It's okay not being okay. It's okay having problems. It's what you do about it that matters.
Yeah, it is okay. Do you feel brave in the work that you do and the things that you've pushed through every day? Does it feel brave?
See, I knew this question was coming. And it's so funny because over the last 36 hours, I've been racking my brain to work out whether I feel brave. And then I've been asking my friends, and I even asked my coach today because I said, this question is coming and I don't know what to reply. I'm going to say I don't feel brave.
Okay. Why not?
And the reason I'm going to say that is because all I am doing is living my life and putting one foot in front of the other and just getting up and trying again, despite incredible setbacks.
But a lot of people would just not. They would have just rolled over and been done.
But is that bravery or is that stubbornness?
Well, okay. I love that you said that. It's a little early for your 3 words again, but I don't know. Maybe there's a fine line between stubborn and brave. We've identified that brave isn't lack of fear. That's not it. Does it feel scary to you?
No. I'm constantly scared.
Yeah.
I live out of my comfort zone.
So why don't you quit?
Thought about it. Loads of times.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Part of it is I hope that tomorrow will be a better day. Tomorrow will be another day. Tomorrow is another chance to try and restart and try again.
Yeah.
Why don't I quit? Honestly, even after I managed to somehow pop my hip out of place 4 days before a competition 2 years ago, and went and competed and did horribly, obviously, because I had a hip that wasn't in the right position. I know, shouldn't have competed, but I did. And it was heartbreaking. I mean, the next day I was supposed to give a talk at JP Morgan about how successful my climbing career was. And obviously nobody knew in the crowd that my hip had come out and I was competing in a lot of pain. I could barely stand, let alone compete. That was kind of the level of pain I was in. And I got to JP Morgan. I remember standing in front of them going, I'm a broken person. That was my talk. My talk was all about how it felt to be broken.
Yeah.
A potentially successful person feeling broken. And it was quite hard doing that in front of 100 of the most influential women in the UK.
Wow.
Yeah, I know, right? And I just went, but I'm still going to get up and try again.
I'll bet they loved it.
Oh yeah, they do. There were tears in the room.
Yeah.
But it was one of those things where it never, for a few seconds, I asked myself, why on earth do I keep doing this to myself? Why do I push? Why do I get up and why do I try so hard every day? Why do I always want a little bit more at the end of the day? Or even not more on a bad day, why do I want the same when I can't get more? Or at least something on a horrible day.
And what's the answer?
Because I know I can.
Yeah.
Because I know, yeah, it might be a horrible day today, and I might, you know what, a 9-minute walk might be too difficult today. On a really bad day, yeah, getting out of the house, getting downstairs to the kitchen, that's a challenge.
A 9-mile walk is too hard for me on any day.
A 9-minute walk.
Oh, 9 minute. Okay. All
yeah.
right.
So yesterday was a horrible day in the morning. There was no chance in heck I was going to be in the office. I couldn't even get downstairs to the kitchen until about 3 p.m. It was a bad day. You know, that's what that day was. That day, success was getting food on my plate, getting the food into me, and not seeing double. That was success. Yesterday.
So you define success on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, you have to in chronic illness. You have to. And it's frustrating to have to redefine success like that sometimes.
But you know,
at least I got the food into me.
Yeah. I think people should do that more often. Redefine success. We always work towards something that we think we're after, and those things shift pretty consistently. Like every day you do need something just a little bit different than a different day.
Yeah, and I mean, you might have long-term goals, but actually, if you look at your long-term goals, say 5-10-year plan, if you have them, or 2-year plan, you as a person will constantly change as well. So I have what I call my check-in system. I check in with myself every 3 months to see whether I'm still happy with my long-term plans.
Good for you.
Because at that point in time, you know, life changes. You change, the world changes. Are you still sure you want to do what you're planning to do in 2 years' time?
That's what I'm talking about.
Is it worth putting all that energy in to get there? If you're not sure, then it's not necessarily worth it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Oh, you are such an inspiration. And it's all true. There's so many wonderful little gems to take from this conversation that you don't have to have chronic illness and you don't have to be missing a limb to use and implement into your life. I just think it's extraordinarily incredible. And I do think it's brave.
Thank you.
I think it's more important what you think than what I think, but I think it's brave because of what you said, because you can. And sometimes it's hard to be brave enough to do the things that we can do, but that are very hard to do.
I'll give you that.
Yeah.
I'll give you that, because sometimes it is very, like, as I said, I've walked back into a training cycle in the last 2 weeks, and I'm very aware that I'm putting myself through a lot more physical performance pressure than I was. And it's very interesting to see the fear has shifted slightly into performance fear. And ever so slightly, not massively yet. And I'm still going there and I'm still trying really hard. And at the moment, I would consider that to be brave.
Yeah. So would I.
Brave knowing just how ill I was not too long ago.
That's right.
You know, it's a leap of faith.
Absolutely. Brave is always a leap of faith. There are never certainties. There's always fear.
Oh God, I have no idea how it's going to go. I have no idea how the next 7 weeks are going to go. And it literally is, as I said, telling my coach earlier today, it is a test run. It's a test run to see if I can withstand the next 7 weeks without falling desperately sick again. It's just to see whether I can do it. And if I can, great. That's really, really good. That's better than I would have hoped. If I can't and something goes wrong, then it's about learning what went wrong and how to fix it so I can try again.
I just have chills everywhere. So you can try again.
Yeah, so I can try again. The intention is not to stop trying. The intention is just a test run now to see if I can.
That's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. I would like for you to sit down and have a chat with my 14-year-old if you can do that. Yeah, I mean, it's just incredible, that drive, that desire. You want to call it stubborn and determined. Let's talk about that for a second, since we kind of dove into the 3 words, even though we're not quite ready yet. We chatted about this somewhat extensively before we began recording the interview. And you said they're kind of the same word. And I said, well, no, they're not completely the same word. So why did you pick those 2 words and hopeful?
So I've been racking my brain also about this one over the last 36 hours, and I couldn't work out the words until we started chatting today. And eventually we ended up with stubborn, determined, and hopeful. Now, determined, I don't think anybody would say I'm lacking that.
No.
I mean, given the life I now lead and given the consistent pushing myself in all sorts of directions to do what I want to do and to make the world a little bit of a better place. Stubborn, like you said, is something you do when everybody around you says you shouldn't be.
Yeah.
Now, I can think of my medical team who actually absolutely support me climbing, funnily enough, because they know that it helps me understand those.
Uh-huh.
But at the same time, there are points where everybody around me is going, Anoushé, why are you still training? Anoushé, why aren't you in bed? Anoushé, you're not fit to train right now. Get off the damn wall. Or Anoushé, don't be at work right now. You're not well enough. That is stubborn. And that's stubborn because I'm really hopeful that the day will go better than it started, or the next day will be better than it is. So the difference between determined and stubborn is literally how self-belief or belief in that it will be better one at some point in time. You can be as determined as you want. I don't think you'll get as far without being stubborn.
Without the hope.
Without the hope.
It's extraordinary.
Because hope will take you into that. Hope will let you do that leap of faith.
Yeah. What change do you believe is possible? That's a question I ask a lot. It's the same thing, hoping that something different can occur, or even consistent, that you can repeatedly do something that's been difficult to do.
Yeah. And the thing is we have life experience to help us with that. No 2 days are ever the same. Ever.
No.
Right?
It's true.
Which means we know that if today is really, really bad, then the likelihood tomorrow is hopefully going to be a little bit better.
Yes, I prefer that attitude. My ex-husband was always like, this is terrible, and the next one's going to be even worse. So that was always a little tough.
Yeah. It might be so marginal that you don't notice it.
Mm-hmm.
It might be such a marginal change that you don't actually notice the difference. Yeah. But over time, when I started rehabbing post-cancer, it was a 5-minute walk maximum at that time. And that was if I could get to the 5 minutes without stopping due to pain or fatigue. It took a long while for me to get to 10 minutes. Yeah. And those gains were marginal. They were very, very small gains until I got to those 10 minutes.
It's always those tiny little steps that seem insignificant that when you add them up make big difference.
It's the same in training. It's the same in climbing. It's the same in any sport. It's working towards those little gains that will get you that big impact. And it's the consistency of trying.
Yeah. Absolutely. How do you celebrate? Like when it goes well or even when you've just gotten through on the days that are hard, how do you celebrate?
There's all sorts of things I do. One of them is I just thank the Lord that I got through the day. Literally, damn, I got through it. And reward myself with a couple of really good deep breaths. Just imprint that feeling into my body. So if it's been an incredibly good thing, like, I don't know, personal best or some sort of fantastic badass move on the climbing wall, the type of thing that'll get a whoop from your coach or a
Yeah.
crowd going, oh my God, she did that. That's kind of like the imbibe that feeling moment. Remember it, because on your bad days, you're going to want to remember that bad move.
Yeah. Well, and I love it because when we first got on this call, you said, "Oh, I'm going to turn it down so that Pink isn't blasting in your ear." And I was like, "Oh,
Yeah,
that's my celebration song."
yeah,
I always
exactly,
listen to
right?
Pink when I need a dance party.
Good music, treat myself out to a stretching session. On the bad days, yeah, I just celebrate by actually just going, I got through it. I did it.
That's right. Acknowledgement.
It used to be food back in the day. Back in
Okay.
the day, it used to be like, oh, I'll treat myself out to a piece of chocolate or an ice cream or something. But ever since Crohn's, I've had a much worse relationship with food. So
That's
I
a
don't.
bummer.
Well, the thing is, I'd rather make that relationship much healthier.
Sure.
So I don't want to be treating myself out to something that might make me feel unwell, even though I love it. Like, I love ice cream and chicken wings and all the rest of it. Ice cream and chicken wings are a comfort food, preferably not in the same meal. But because of that, I sort of, instead of saying, oh, I'll treat myself out to something foodie, I might treat myself out to a nice cup of tea, actually.
Yeah.
A
Yeah.
cup of tea, I'm British, right? A cup of tea will do it.
Yeah. I love that. I love it. I love it. I love it. What is your favorite charitable organization to support?
God, that is the hard question, because I just work with so many charities. Oh, man. I guess if Paraclimbing London was a charity, I would go down the Paraclimbing London route because it's my baby.
Yes.
It is my baby. But because Paraclimbing London's not a charity, and I'm an ambassador for two charities, so they get plenty of my time, I'm still going to say Shine Cancer Support UK.
Okay.
It's a charity that's aimed for people who've had a cancer diagnosis, either living with or in remission or no evidence of disease from cancer, that
Yeah.
are in their 20s, 30s, and 40s.
So young.
So the difference between people who are younger than that is they're normally covered under the children's cancer trusts, and the people who are older than that are often very established in their lives. So they've got partners, they've got mortgages, they've got house.
They maybe have some money saved, things like that. Mhm.
Whereas when you're in your 20s, certainly in your early 20s, you probably don't have things like, you probably haven't finished your studies. You certainly haven't established yourself, your career. What about things like partners, fertility,
Right.
all of those questions? And so inevitably, and people go, because you're that young, people go, oh, it's fine. You had cancer. You'll be fine now.
Mm.
So they don't give you the same credence as, say, maybe somebody older or somebody younger having had cancer.
Interesting. Very interesting.
When you're older, people are always like, oh, how are you doing today? Whereas, as a 20-something-year-old, people are like, you look fine.
Right. Right.
One, you're too healthy. Oh, or you've made the bad decisions, which is why you got cancer. Even better, right? So this charity sort of works with people in those age ranges,
Excellent.
especially to cover things like hidden costs and things.
So many, and there are so many of those. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. Listeners, as always, go and learn more about the organization. We'll link to them in the show notes. They'll be our charity of the week for the coming week. But give what you can, whether it's money, time, just learn about them, share them with another friend. If you know anybody else who could benefit from it, this is how we come together as a community. This is how we make the world better. One little tiny step at a time, as Anoushé says, in every other way. It's just one little tiny step at a time makes all the difference. I have loved having you on the show. Thank you for being here to share your absolute joy and humility and passion and stubbornness and determination and hopefulness with all of us.
Thank you so much for inviting me. I've loved it. I really have.
Well, listeners, I don't know about you, but I hope you were taking notes. I'm going to go back and re-listen and take notes because there were so many wonderful things to just push you a tiny bit further than maybe you were pushed an hour ago. You can do hard things. Anoushé does hard things every second of every day with such joy and hope. And it's just a treat to be able to share these kinds of stories with you. So if you like what you hear, be sure to go and subscribe, rate, and review the show. You can listen anywhere you enjoy podcasts, but it's especially helpful if you review us on Apple Podcasts and share it with somebody that you care about. We love being with you. My team and I are so grateful that we get to do this work. This is Heather Vickery reminding you today and always to go out and choose bravely. The Brave Files is proudly supported by Audible. If you enjoy listening to podcasts, you're sure to love listening to your favorite books on Audible. Get your free 30-day trial complete with a credit for a free audiobook download today simply by visiting audibletrial.com/thebravefiles. Again, that's visiting audibletrial.com/thebravefiles.
Thank you for listening to The Brave Files. Be sure to visit thebravefilespodcast.com to access the show notes and discover fantastic bonus content. Music composed and produced by Matt Lewis of Union Music, LLC.